Hey guys, this is Tomoyo Sagi here with a video for blog for June 10th, 2013 on a very rainy Monday here in New York. Kind of disgusting. Well, not disgusting, but kind of a bitter Monday, just like Friday. Today we're going to talk about the recent the recent leaks or the whistleblowing of the NSA and federal government's prison program by I think it was a man named Edward Snowden. Yes, Edward Snowden. Before we continue on, I have to say, Mr. Snowden, you've got some real cojones blowing the whistle, man. Because most people who works in the government are too scared. They're just too damn scared to expose stuff like this. A few individuals, such as yourself, has the courage to do so. I mean that's your life. I mean, yeah, not just your life, but this could affect. People like you could affect the outcome of this country's future, if not the world's future. Because keep in mind, this government of ours has some cases overstepping authority on the grounds of national security, and they partner with other countries through anti-terrorism policies, which for example, some of these laws that are passed in the government, passed in the House or the Senate, well, actually both. Most politicians don't even read them. They just hurry up and rush them through the House and Senate. They hurry up and rush them straight to the president's desk, where he signs it, gives his signature, and it's automatically law. With the Patriot Act, for example, which was enacted after 9/11, the thing about that is, the really tricky thing about that, during the Bush administration, Bush Jr., Bush Sr.'s son, his little son, I swear, man, that guy, he's just a creep. He creeps me out just looking at him. He creeps me out. I know he probably creeps out a lot of other people in terms of his look, but I'm not going to talk about him like that, because I don't want people coming after me just because I called him out by his appearances. Well, obviously. So, anyways, he signed the Patriot Act into law without congressional approval or approval from the people. Just signed it into law without that, because it was a time of national security. But whatever happened to the democratic process? Whatever happened to that democracy? But I guess national security and capitalism trumps democracy when you have deep pockets. Let's just put it that way: deep pockets and a lot of connections. So yeah, what Mr. Snowden, should I say, he worked for the NSA for about a decade, I think, or so. Yeah, I think about a decade or more. Almost a decade, till he blew the whistle. I have to say, that guy had some cojones to blow the whistle, man, to leak this out, because if people wake up and realize that, oh, our government, it's not all cute and cuddly and here to help us. They're actually here to enslave us, make them work for them, because they are, in fact, is controlled by Wall Street, is controlled by the corporations. And they are not our friends. All they care about is making a quick buck or getting power over the people, supposedly for their own selfish gangs and gains and all that, and leave all of us out to dry, or suffer and die. Meanwhile, they have a lot of privileges where they can live a long time, and their families are probably stinking rich or well connected, where they don't have to worry about certain things. But That's what really pisses me off. This country, the people, most people are too darn scared of the government. Meanwhile, in other countries across the world, such as in Europe and Asia, excluding China, because people are kind of, that's about to change. Most governments are afraid of the people. Instead, the people are afraid of the government. If we had that setup today, where the government was afraid of the people were not afraid to stand up and say what they have to say, maybe we wouldn't have the Patriot Act. Maybe we wouldn't have all these laws and crutches or something. Well, when I mean by crutches, I mean the country's in a fix economically, and also it's in a lot of trouble. Let's just put it that way, because the government has overstepped its authority. So if the people were not afraid of the government and the government was afraid of the people, things would be different. We would have a completely different country, and that would be true democracy, where the people actually have a say-so. They actually control, the people actually have actual control of the government and what actually goes on, and even keep the most conservative politicians in line, like they have in Germany and Japan and a bunch of other big countries in Europe, and of course like Asia. But Asia, the only country I see that has that is Hong Kong, which is an independent state from China. It has its own sovereignty, even though it uses the same language, well, kind of the same language in China, well, except you have a mixture of English, Cantonese, and Mandarin. Cantonese is more spoken there, I think. But yeah, they have protests, and they don't lock people up like crazy like they do in China. They don't try to beat their faces in like we do here in New York. I mean, it's just sickening. Not just in New York, but in any part of the country where you have protests, the cops become aggressive. They become the aggressors. And they want to use the excuse that, these protesters are getting out of control. No. You don't see that crap going on anywhere else in the world. You don't see people getting the crap beaten out of them just because they're protesting. Maybe except in London and a few European countries. But the ones that I mentioned that are pretty good, they treat their people well. At least they let them, if they feel that something is wrong, they let them speak. Meanwhile, in this country, people are afraid to talk or afraid to stand up because they're afraid of legal action and possible jail time and possible violence. There's a few who are, I'm not gonna lie, is not afraid. I mean, personally, me, if I didn't have much to lose at this point, I would stand up. But right now, where I'm at, I can't do much. So, however, I will sign petitions and stuff like that. Basic stuff. Civil disobedience and all that, but not violence. Maybe take part in some protests, but nothing too big. Because, some of us have a future, and the way we can get back at the government is use the system against them, like Occupy Wall Street done. It did earlier this year, or late last year, I forgot when it was, but it was pretty successful. But it was against the local government. It was against the city government, which was pretty bold. They won. The city paid millions of dollars in damages. Wow. I bet you they paid probably medical bills too, because some of the protesters, the NYPD bashed the faces in of, probably had really expensive medical bills. And also had motorcycles running over people. Like this one girl, I saw a video on YouTube, I think this was in Manhattan. I think this was overuse of force, and just kind of stepping out of line. It was a group of Occupy Wall Street protesters marching peacefully north probably about 20 or 30 blocks, the way it looks, north of Zuccotti Park. And the NYPD was called in, and they come in with helmets, some cases riot gear. You have paddy wagons, motorcycles, those little annoying ass scooters. I can't stand those things because they try to run people over with them, especially protesters. That's what they're known for. Yeah, so there's this girl, not that older than me. She's involved in the protest. I think she's actually probably a year younger than me at the time. So she is peacefully marching as well, and the cops see her since she's on the street, and they run her over with a motorcycle, and she's not doing nothing wrong, and they're using excessive force. She's not even doing anything violent. My God, man. That's why I can't. It's our government. It's just become a police state, because the powers that be are actually being controlled. They're puppets to the puppeteers, like Bilderberg and Illuminati. And, well, I don't know about Illuminati, but Bilderberg is New World Order, and this past weekend they had a meeting, which was actually surprising. They had one. It was on the outskirts of London in the northern suburbs, but the thing completely went public. I mean, even though I haven't seen it much in the news reports here in the States, I mean, elsewhere in the world it was reported, but because I heard that no U.S. reporter wanted to go there and report it because their jobs and their lives would have been on the line for going there. But the world media, excluding the United States, and the only person I know of from the States who covered this story was Alex Jones of InfoWars. I mean, I have to say, at least he has the guts and stuff to go in there and just, well, not actually into the meeting itself, because it was blocked off and they had a metal fence and, barricade, something like that. And they had the British, I think it was the London police or something like that. I'm not sure what they had, but I know they had uniformed police officers and some security, private security contractors involved too, not just British police. So all that security was all paid for by tax money. It's all public money. They could even spend a few $1 million for their own security. Hire those police officers on their own terms, not getting the taxpayer, which has nothing to do with what's going on, and don't even know mostly what's going on, paying for something that they didn't want or didn't know about till the last minute, until there was a huge uproar, and there was a few British politicians who were very conservative, but the ones who are independent and the ones who are not willing to take any crap from any corporations or anything like that, or really for the people, but that's far few in between, like here in the States. But then again, most of our government, it's all been soiled, man, and there's plenty of blood on both hands, both pairs of hands, in the UK and the United States. But there's a few people who have the courage to stand up to these people and tell them, look, what you're doing is wrong and unlawful, and it's very collusion. It's an act of collusion. Basically what they do is make backroom deals and all this stuff behind closed doors, off the record, until it comes up later on and nobody can do nothing about it unless people know ahead of time. That's when they'll start to form and try to stop it, but they don't want that. They want to keep stuff hush-hush so they can do what they want to do. And people like Mr. Snowden, I'm being honest as possible, but not where I'm trying to decree any names of any politicians or anything like that, which I'm not trying to do, but I'm simply trying to say a point that I am not seeing any names out there, but the ones who are in power, whose doing this for extra power and money, like Caesar of Rome, where that empire, the Roman Empire, fell apart. This country, since it has somewhat of an imperialistic agenda in some cases, especially with geopolitics and all this stuff, which is being pulled by Wall Street and Bilderberg. Yeah, so pretty much, guys, just think before you start enacting bills that you don't even know about. You just rush through the House. Don't think of it as another piece of paper to sign. Think of it as something that could affect your children's future. Your children's future, your neighbors, everybody that's around you. It could affect them, backfire on everyone. So before you even pass any bills, look at it before you say yay. Make any decisions. I would say just look at the bill. Give yourself some time to think about it. And what will be the repercussions? I mean, I know you guys have agendas and all that stuff, but for the sake of everyone and the people who brought you into power, that you've broken oaths to, turn your ways around and just simply do the righteousness, the right stuff, the right movements, nothing all shifty and crazy that could backfire on you later on, and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm not trying to give any political advice or anything like that, but what I've seen happen to this country, it's unbelievable. It's just ridiculous, man. I thought this was the land of the free and stuff, but my eyes was wide opened by people who know certain things, and I looked into it myself, and I was shocked. But I'm not gonna go too deep into that. So what I was saying about the prison program, what it does is monitor not just phone calls, but text messages, emails, Facebook posts, Google searches, all kinds of web and data activity for mobile and internet networks, not just in the United States, but possibly around the world, supposedly for intelligence of a next attack. But what they're doing instead is just spying on us, all American citizens. And Snowden just felt that, he explained that having that position of power, he steps back for a moment and starts to think that what we're doing here is wrong and highly unconstitutional, and he gave up everything just to expose the truth, for the pursuit of truth and justice. I mean, I don't blame him. I would have did the same thing too. If that means I have to be on the run, shoot, man. Me as a little, keep on keeping government honest, keeping the people aware of what's going on. I hope people don't forget what he's done. I hope they don't see it as something else, as, old news, let's move on. No, it's your future's at risk, everyone, alright? It's your future's at risk. So, don't use his message or my message as simply as something, been there, done that, let's move on, and we'll just forget about it. This could affect you and your children. In some cases, that has not been born yet, would affect them later on. And do you want to live in a country where you have limited rights, you're broke as heck, you work for mega banks and all that, and you're not getting nothing out of it, and you're just economic slaves? Stand up and say something now, or whatever you're gonna do, as long as it's some action against the establishment. Do something. I'm not asking for a violent conflict. All I'm asking is people to stand up, be aware, voice their opinions, get their congressman, get their senator, write letters to them, talk to them, and keep pressure on them to block these laws and ridiculous actions. I mean, yeah. So this is AZ-19-2368 out.